It's time for Voice of Indy. Your hosts today are Beem Weeks, author, producer, and marketing monster for independent multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group, and Stephen Gies, author, producer, composer, and publisher for Fresh Ink Group.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday evening and another episode of the Voice of Indy podcast. This is episode number 168. I am your host, Beem Weeks, and with me out of town is Mr. Stephen Gies. How you doing tonight, Stephen, and where are you?
I'm doing fairly nifty. If I look out the window, I can see a golf course, and beyond that, a river. I'm on the border between Kentucky and Indiana right now. So
well, what takes you there?
Having a good time. I came up here to see Yes last night. I'll be the roundabout. And it's one of my all-time favorite bands. I've been going to see them for more than half a century. It was just very cool. And last night's show opened with a 35-minute presentation by Roger Dean, the artist, who has done virtually every Yes cover in more than half a century, plus their adjuncts, Rick Wakeman albums and Steve Howe albums and things like that. So that was very cool. So here I am, middle of nowhere, but I brought all the stuff with me so I can plug in and we can go Voice of Indy.
All right. Yeah, now, when you purchased the tickets, tell the story about when you purchased the tickets, where you thought you were going to be.
Yeah, okay. I live in Northeast Alabama, so if I want to see concerts, sometimes they come to Birmingham or Huntsville, but I'm most likely to get the best shows if I go a few hours north to Nashville, Tennessee, or a few hours kind of southeast to Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm on like every mailing list. So I'm constantly getting these promotions for this band is coming, that band is coming, or whatever. And quite often, therefore, they're coming to Nashville or they're coming to Atlanta. Well, when I saw Yes was coming to Nashville, I jumped on a ticket and spent a couple of months anticipating this show. And then when we got just to a few days before the show, I wanted to check and see what the requirements were for the venue. And turned out the venue was in Nashville, Indiana. So here I am.
All right. Well, at least you made it. You had a good time. You enjoyed the show, so that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, listeners, we have a new book coming out this week. As a matter of fact, it's out now, the hardcover and softcover, Village Boss by Ronan Duvall. This is a thriller, kind of an espionage, freelance mercenaries. And it's entertaining, it's violent, and it's got some CIA mind control in there, and it's a really good debut from an up-and-coming author. So, Village Boss by Ronan Duvall. If you're into that kind of stuff, the thriller stuff, the espionage kind of stuff, and the CIA mind control subjects, this is your book. Well-written and available now in hardcover and softcover, and we are awaiting the EPUB for the digital version. So get out there and get a copy. Listeners, if you want to call in tonight, if you got a question or comment for tonight's guest, or you just want to call in and give Stephen a hard time for getting the wrong Nashville, here's how you do that.
Call 516-453-9902 right now with your questions or comments for tonight's guest. Or post a note on Twitter with hashtag Fresh Ink Group in the body of the tweet, and we'll read it on air. That's 516-453-9902 or hashtag Fresh Ink Group on Twitter.
Right. We have another new book that's only been out for a few weeks now, and it's an apt time of year for a book like this. It's called Celebrate 98 by Dave Hooker of Off the Hook Sports. And Dave Hooker is taking a good, fun, nostalgic look at the 25th anniversary of the 1998 Tennessee Vols football team. College football we're talking about, people. There's a few fans out there of college football.
Just a
so
few.
This is when the Tennessee Vols won the championship in the year coming off of Peyton Manning being the quarterback. And Dave's put together a book with all the color pictures and the stories behind the stories and the stories behind those stories. He looks at where those players are today. And he basically talks about the strategy, the hurt feelings, the hard feelings, and the no feelings at all. And he's got the cool stuff in here. It's a good collector's kind of a book. It's a good gift for college football fans, and it's a great book to have on the shelf. It's available everywhere worldwide in all of our usual formats, or if you go to Off the Hook Sports, you can order a copy directly from Dave, and he'll autograph it for you, even inscribe it if you want. That's Celebrate 98 about the Tennessee Volunteers.
All right. And speaking of Tennessee, coming from the Chattanooga area, David Carroll's latest, I Won't Be Your Scapegoat, is out now. This book is about misprinted signs and messed up words and media posts and things like that. He spent time collecting all of these and blunders and bloopers and things like that. And this book is so hilarious. You've heard us talk about this, for many weeks, where Stephen and I were laughing out loud going through this book as we were putting it together. I mean, laughing out loud. You will too. So I Won't Be Your Scapegoat by David Carroll should be on your Christmas list. So grab a copy. And listeners, if you want to know about these other books that are coming out in weeks to come, and this podcast, you want to know who's the guest tonight and how to get the link to it and all that good stuff, we've got a newsletter. And if you're not subscribed to it, I'm disappointed. So here's how you can clear up that disappointment and get subscribed to the Fresh Ink Group newsletter.
Stay on top of these podcasts and all things Fresh Ink Group with our weekly digital newsletter. New releases, videos, stories, excerpts, interviews, and more. Sign up now on the homepage of FreshInkGroup.com and be the one who knows what's what.
What?
All right, so let's take a quick look at the top 25 Fresh Ink Group print bestsellers. What's been happening this past week? If we start at number 25, Shipwrecked and Rescued, The City of Bangor by Larry Jorgensen, about those cars that never made it to Canada. What happened to them? Buy the book and find out. Our next two are Kenneth Lindquist.
Speaking of, hold on a second here. I gotta shoehorn this in here. Speaking of that, with the Jorgensen's book, I was watching a video on YouTube, and it was talking about all these different mysteries from the Great Lakes, and one of them was that shipwreck, and how they got the cars out of there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
well, he's definitely got the details in the book. He's got the historical photos. He's got interviews with people who knew what was happening, all that. So, great book. Check it out. And then in the next two slots, Kenneth Lindquist, How to Teach Driving. Now, his instructor's edition is the hardcover edition, is on our bestseller list. The parents edition, it's the paperback. So the instructors are looking more for a permanent book to keep on the shelf and go back to for reference, I think. We get above that, we've got Operation Ivy Bells, a Mac McDowell mission by Robert G. Willis-Croft. And that is the paperback edition of the first book in his Mac McDowell mission series, which is up to 4 books right now, and the 5th one is on its way. But if you stop right there at slot number 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, you go up to number 11, and there's Operation Ivy Bells again, the hardcover edition. Look at that. The hardcover edition of a long, not inexpensive novel is substantially outselling the paperback edition as well,
wow,
which is pretty cool. Now, above Operation Ivy Bells, Daddy Yo-Yo and the Legendary Marble Tournament. It's a illustrated chapter book by Dr. Janice Toney, and in this case, it's the hardcover edition that has made our bestseller list. So people are buying books for kids and wanting them to have a good quality case laminate hardcover edition. Above that, Helen Burrell's American Agony, the Opioid War Against Patients in Pain. A look at the politics of what's going on with the opioid epidemic and the enforcement, especially against doctors. Above that, still not enough, Minority Millennials in the Workforce by Janelle A. Jordan. And then above that, we've got one of the food truck books by A.K. Wingler, How to Start and Run Your Own Food Truck Business in Georgia. Above that, Shipwrecked and Rescued, The City of Bangor. It's the hardcover edition, outselling the softcover edition, that story of the Chryslers that never made it to Canada. Above that, M.C. Howard's The Diang, book 1 of the Diang trilogy. This is a new novel, the first of 3 novels in the Diang trilogy, and look at this, it's the hardcover edition that's made our bestseller list. Sassy uncovers Peter Allen's Secret by B.A. Johnson. That's the second book in her Sassy series, illustrated chapter books for children to learn about the AME Church. Above that, another Mac McDowell mission book by Robert G. Willis-Croft. This one's Operation Icebreaker. And you know what, Robert? It's the hardcover. that made our
Wow.
list. Another thriller novel with the hardcover on our list. And above that, the hardcover of I Won't Be Your Scapegoat by David Carroll, David Carroll's homemade social media blunders. We're doing real well with the hardcovers here. Above that, Operation Ivy Bells in hardcover I mentioned, and then above that, the paperback edition of American Agony, The Opioid War Against Patients in Pain by Dr. Helen Burrell. Now above that, the first book in the Sassy series by B.A. Johnson, Sassy Discovers the AME Church. All right, now we're getting up close to the top of this list here, Beam. You know, there's one that's got to be up here somewhere, and that's The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip by Mark Herndon. Mark Herndon played drums with the supergroup, award-winning Country Music Hall of Fame, a whole boatload of number one hits, Alabama. And after that kind of went sour in the later years, Mark wrote the book, and he tells the stories. He takes the high road about it, but it's a fascinating look at what it was like to live that life and what went wrong and what we all can learn from it. Above that, the paperback edition of the Diang Book 1, the Diang Trilogy. And then above that, appearing on our list for the first time, Mermaid Cove, Memes, Oracles, and Mermaid Art by Maureen Howard, who also happens to be the MC Howard of the Diang book that was just below it. Now, this brings us to our top 6. Paperback edition of The High Road, Memories from a Long Trip by drummer Mark Herndon is at the number 6 slot. Now, 5 and 4 are both Celebrate 98, The Untold Stories Behind the Tennessee Football Vols' 1998 National Championship by Dave Hooker. The paperback edition has sold one more copy than the hardcover edition, and that's what puts it in number 4 and the hardcover in number 5. And that brings us to our top 3. Interesting things here in the top 3. At the number 3 slot by J. Looney, Meet William Shakespeare, a superbly entertaining one-person play starring the Bard himself. Now, J. Looney published this book, one of a number of plays that he's published with us, which they can be read like a book, like a story, or they can be read like a play, and of course they can be produced and put on like a play as well. This one in particular, Meet William Shakespeare, he attended a Renaissance festival and did something or other there that gave him an opportunity to publicize this book. Here we are 3 weeks later, and it's our number 3 print bestseller. So keep that up, J. Looney. Number 2 slot, A.K. Wingler's paperback edition of How to Start and Run Your Own Food Truck Business in Florida. And that brings us to the number 1 slot. Number 1 this week goes to David Carroll. Paperback edition of I Won't Be Your Scapegoat, David Carroll's homemade social media blunders. Congratulations, David.
All right. Yeah, congratulations. And one of those books that was on there, Mermaid Cove by Maureen Howard, that's out now. So you can go over to Amazon and pick up a copy. It's watercolors and oil acrylics, all these different kind of paintings of mermaids that Maureen painted over the years for posters for the Yachty Gras down there in, Houston? Where's she at?
Close to it. Closer to Corpus Christi, I think.
And she's put them all together in a book as a kind of keepsake coffee table book, and it's really cool. So get over there and check that out. Now, Maureen's been on the show, as has most of these other people. So if you want to catch some of those old episodes and you don't know where to find them, here's how you can find them.
Find your favorite show in the Voice of Indie archives on YouTube at Fresh Ink Group, StephenGees.com, BeamWeeks.com, FreshInkGroup.com, and on Spotify. And now you can listen on iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and tune in. Just search The Voice of Indie, all one word.
Dave Hooker here, longtime Tennessee sports writer, and I know that true Tennessee fans are celebrating the 25th anniversary of the legendary 1998 Tennessee Volunteers championship season. Tell you what, you celebrate 98, I try to bring the full color photos and detail the transfer of power from Peyton Manning to Al Wilson, the preparation to win the first BCS national championship, the locker room dynamics, and the challenges of a team rising above deep tragedy. Key plays include interception, a fumble maybe against Arkansas, and a bit of trickeration. Also, there's that Florida game I analyze the leadership, the strategies, and the players' commitment to each other, and share what we are still learning from this team even today. Discover what happened to those heroes of the gridiron and where they are now. Proudly published by the Fresh Ink Group, Celebrate 98 is available in all the digital forms, but you can also get your own softcover or jacketed hardcover keepsake edition from booksellers worldwide. Want an autographed edition? Go to offthehooksports.com. That's offthehooksports.com, and I'll personalize it for you. Celebrate 98 is a collector's item and a cherished gift that belongs to all fans of college football and the Tennessee Volunteers.
All right, now I'm going to have that Rocky Top. It's going to be stuck in my head all night. All right, now on to tonight's guests. We have two of them, so I'm going to read the first bio. Dan Price is a comic creator from Austin, Texas. He has worked on several indie comic projects, including Bigfoot Knows Karate. He's the creator, co-writer, and artist on that one. Halloween Man meets Latex Avenger, Masters of the Obvious, and Excelsius for the Stan Lee Foundation. Follow Dan on Instagram, TikTok, and X at Dynamite139, or visit lesserknowncomics.com.
All right, and our other guest is Casey T. Allen. He's a writer living in central Alabama, not too far from me. A working shift by day. At night, after the kids are in bed, he transforms into a writer of comics, contributor to Spoiler Country podcast, and the editor of The Comic Jam. He's edited and written for the Eins Anthology Book 1, Containment Breach Anthology, and is writer, co-creator of the horror comic Voodoo Chile, and co-writer on the Bigfoot Knows Karate series from Lesser Known Comics. Follow Casey on social media, or don't. He's kind of a jerk. Welcome to the show, jerk. Casey.
Hey, how's it going?
And Dan.
Yeah.
I can be a jerk, too. It's cool.
Oh, cool. I've been called that many times in my life, so tonight we'll just all be jerks, and we'll have fun doing it.
Why not?
That's right.
Welcome to the jerk episode. All right, so to get things started, why don't you guys share a little bit about your background? Where are you originally from? Where have you all lived? And where are you currently living now? Although we just kind of got the idea for some of that stuff.
Casey, why don't you start us off, man?
Yeah. So I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. Grew up out this way. I'm a dad. Started doing comics a few years ago. Actually met a lot of folks in the Comic Jam, and then I started to I took over editing duties there, and then I met a lot more people. I ended up meeting Dan, and that's how we got to know each other and kind of realized that we like working with one another.
All right.
How about you?
And, my name's Dan Price. I am a comic book creator, writer, artist from Austin, Texas. I have, where else have I lived? I mean, I've lived in Indiana, and I've lived in Maui, Hawaii. But mostly I've spent my time in the Texas area. Austin, been here about 20 years. And, I have a day job. I make comics. Wife, kids, mortgage, all that stuff. So, but, love making comics, love talking about comics, so this is going to be fun tonight.
Oh, cool. Well, Dan, were you into comics as a kid? I mean, is this something that piqued your interest later on, or is this something that you've lived and breathed as long as you can remember?
I've been a nerd since I was about 3, I figure, but I started reading comics when I was 8 and really dived into it. Started reading, Marvel, DC stuff when I was young. It kind of stayed with me, and into high school. I started reading Image Comics when they creator-owned books became to the mainstream, and that's really excited me. It was like, you're telling me I can make my own comics, not have to worry about Spider-Man and Superman and all those things, and just do my own thing. Yes, please. And but I did some work for a studio when I was in high school, but and they had offered me my own book, and I started working on that, and the studio shut down. And I didn't actually make my very first comic until I was 30. I love comics, but I think I love them more these days from the craft perspective than I do from the reader perspective, like how I did when I was young. I love the craft of making comics. I think it's just such an exciting experience. And, nowadays when I do read comics, it's all indie stuff. That's what I prefer. I'm excited to see what's new that's out there, stuff that's never been tried before. That's exciting to me.
So even when you were very young, it wasn't just so much that you were a consumer of the comics. You were looking at them and thinking, somebody drew these and somebody made this stuff up, and how is this done and all that. You were kind of getting into that young?
Oh, yeah.
No,
cool.
Cool.
Yeah. I remember being 10 years old and meeting Bob Layton, who was the artist on Iron Man at the time. And he couldn't have been cooler in my eyes if he tried. And and I've actually met him like 3 times over the years in different stages of my life, and it's been a cool experience each time. But when I was 10, he was just like, it was the coolest thing ever to meet somebody who made comics. And then you get older and you meet more and more of them, and it's infectious. You want to be a part of it. You really do.
Yeah. And what about you, Casey? Did you have a similar trajectory? Were you into comics as a kid, or is that an interest came along later?
Yeah. So as a kid, I was a voracious reader as it was, just anything. And comics, my dad kind of taught me to read off of comics. I remember, very young, reading Green Lantern in his lap. And always been a fan of comics. And then around my teen years, I got into playing music and stuff like that, and comics took a back seat until I started working down the road from a comic shop. And I worked at a moving company, and just a few blocks away was this comic shop, and people would always, the guys that I worked with, early 20s, former jocks basically, and so of course they pass a shop full of nerds out in the parking lot, they'll make fun of them and stuff like that. So the first time I walked in, they looked at me like, we don't want trouble here. Like, what's the deal? And I started buying all of the comics that I wanted to read when I was a much younger reader, but didn't have access to, because grew up in a small town in central Alabama. There's not really a comic book shop available, so all I could get was stuff off the spinner rack, and then reading about other things that I did not have access to. So coming back to comics in my early 20s was really fun. I got to explore new ways of writing and thinking, and then in my mid-30s, I started going, maybe I could write these. So it took me a long time to get to actually I actually feel like I could maybe possibly write comics, because when I was a kid, comics were made and produced by people in New York City or L.A., and everywhere in between was just like a no man's land.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like most, the big two, they're New York stories. A lot of them take place in New York. Growing up in, central Alabama, like, there is nothing like New York. So
yeah. It sounds like you went through a period where you outgrew comics, and then you went through a period where you figured out you never outgrow comics.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a good medium. There's so many things you can do with it, and you can go. It's only limited to your imagination, whereas you can't really do that with other mediums. Not in the same way.
Right, Dan. Education. What kind of background is your education? Just high school? Did you go to college? And if you went to college, does that play into what you're doing now with the comic books?
Sure. No, I did the college thing. I went to St. Lucie State University out in Huntsville, Texas. I started my degree as a graphic designer, and ended up graduating with an English major with a emphasis on creative writing, and my minor became studio art. So I use my degree in the world of comics, but I also use it in my day job too, because I'm a creative director for a marketing and advertising group. So that's like my background in from my educational standpoint. But yeah, like I took a ton of illustration classes in college. I mean, tons of them, stuff for comics and stuff for otherwise, along the way in my degree. Yeah, I'm grateful for it because I met some amazing professors along the way. One of them who was a direct influence on based on the conversation we had one afternoon. He's a direct influence on the art style that I do for Bigfoot Knows Karate's main storyline. Because without him, I wouldn't have that looseness, the kind of kinetic look to it. If I hadn't listened to him all those many years ago. So, James Searles, Dr. Searles, thank you very much. You're a badass.
Yeah, that's great. That's always cool when you can look back and there was that one guy. For me, it was my journalism teacher in high school. And, you know, I still remember a lot of what he taught me about, you know, putting stories together and what you want to say. And, yeah, so that's always cool.
Yeah, I've been lucky to have some amazing teachers throughout my schooling, whether it was Miss Loquetto in junior high school, Mr. Williams in high school, or, you know, just the plethora of teachers from the college time, you know, whether they were English teachers or, you know, art teachers. I was really lucky. I had a lot of people who gave a damn about my schooling, you know what I mean, and wanted to make sure that I was going in the right direction. So I always consider myself really lucky when it comes to that stuff. And it's a really cool day when, you know, they order your comic, you know, or you bump into them at your art show, you know, things like that, and you're like, holy cow, you actually remember who I was enough to come out and do this thing. It's like, it's pretty incredible.
Cool. Now, Casey, same question for you. What's your educational background, and does it play into your work on comics and whatnot?
Not at all. So my educational background is spotty, but no, I went to college for a few years. I never ended up finishing. What I did is, as soon as I graduated high school, I went into the workforce, ended up meeting my wife. We got married, bought my first house working at a moving company, and, you know, started going back to school here and there. And then we started having, we had our first kid, and it became a little bit harder to get back to school. So now my day job is I work for a company that makes flexible endoscopes, and I work with engineers there. I helped found the department that we had at my job, and it's actually kind of rewarding. I like it.
All right, that sounds cool. Interesting. I mean, not comic book related. I mean, it's, you know, and that you're doing something in engineering type of stuff. It reminds me of Brad Schultz from the band Boston. This guy has an engineering degree from MIT, and he was working with Polaroid. And on the side, he's putting together the first Boston album, which, you know, anybody that's into classic rock knows. I mean, that thing sold 15, 20 million copies just as a side project.
What's funny is one of the things I have to do at my job, I actually learned through working on guitars and building like guitar effects and stuff like that. So I had, you know, I learned it for a hobby, and now, you know, I have to do a lot of micro welding and soldering and laser welding, and I got, you know, my first taste of that, you know, just in a hobby. So
cool. Yeah, that's Brad Schultz. That's that guitar tone that's identifiable as Boston. That's from an amplifier that he designed and built. So yeah, you guys got a lot in common.
I love unique sound too.
All right, we are listening right now. We are talking to Dan Price and Casey Allen, and they are comic creators. And we will be right back after this.
I'm David Carroll, and I'm proud of my recent books, Chattanooga Radio and Television, Volunteer Bama Dog, and Hello Chattanooga, famous people who have visited the Tennessee Valley. Like many folks, I spend too much time on social media, but I put that time to good use. For years, I've been collecting social media misspellings, misinterpretations, and other mishaps, from tweets, text messages, even the signs you see at stores and on the highways. I've collected the funniest foul-ups in my latest book, I Won't Be Your Scapegoat, David Carroll's homemade social media blunders. I top them off with my own snarky comments, and they're illustrated by a talented artist, my friend Mike Salter. There are a lot of laugh-out-loud moments in the book, more than 400 of them. We all make mistakes, and sure, you can blame it on spell check, but maybe, just maybe, we didn't pay enough attention in English class. Either way, this book will bring a smile to your face or to the face of someone you love. We can all agree what the world needs now is laughter, and lots of it. I Won't Be Your Scapegoat, proudly published by Fresh Ink Group in softcover, jacketed hardcover, and all ebook formats.
Inspiring and unforgettable, Letting Go into Perfect Love is a riveting account of a journey through the terror of domestic violence to a faith that transforms all. As a college administrator, Gwendolyn M. Plano lived her professional life in a highly visible and accountable space. But as a wife and mother behind closed doors, she and her family experienced unpredictable threat. Every 9 seconds in the United States, a woman is assaulted or beaten. But to Gwen, this was her secret. It was her shame. Alternately heart-wrenching and joyful, this is a story of triumph over adversity. One woman's uplifting account of learning how to forgive the unforgivable, recover her sense of self, bring healing into her family, and honor the journey home. Accompanied by glimpses of celestial beings, Gwen charts a path through sorrow to joy, and ultimately writes of the one perfect love we all seek. Gwen's story is heartbreakingly familiar. It provides insight into the phenomenon of domestic violence. Understanding that murky world may provide the reader with the skills to help his or her sister or friend or neighbor. Whether victim or friend, readers will be inspired by the author's courage. Letting Go into Perfect Love by Gwendolyn M. Plano is available now as a Fresh Ink Group edition in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook editions. The Audible audiobook edition is also available at Amazon. Order your copy now, and you may see your own challenges a little differently.
All right. We're talking to Dan Price and Casey T. Allen, comic book creators, publishers, and aficionados. And the secret's out about what Casey's doing during the daytime. How about you, Dan? Have you got a day job or other stuff that you sneak around and do?
Yeah. No, I'm a creative director for an advertising and marketing group outside of Dallas. And although I work from my home in Austin. So, yeah, I've been doing that in fact, I just celebrated my 10-year anniversary with that company. So I've been doing that for a while. I've been working as a graphic designer, art director, creative director for the last 20 years. So that's what I do. We run a magazine, and so I handle the magazine, and me and my team, we do that. And that's me in a nutshell, really.
You want to name the magazine?
Nope. I keep separation of church and state. Yeah, so I appreciate the offer.
I am a subscriber to that. Cool. I'm going to look at the fine print of who gets the credit. All right.
All right. Now, over here on Twitter, Robert Williscroft, who is a prolific author, he's one of our best-selling authors here at Fresh Ink Group, he's got a question for the two of you. He says, would you guys be interested in working with my Mac McDowell series as either a comic book series or a graphic novel?
Ooh.
Job
Question. Go ahead, Casey.
You are being recorded.
Oh yeah. So right now, with all the other projects that I have going on, man, oh my gosh, it's hard enough to just put out the things that I'm creating.
Okay. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what. I'm at Danomite139 on Twitter. Shoot me a DM. I'd love to see what you got.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I will put that on here when I get a chance. Send him that. So, all right. Yeah. Robert. He's like I said, he's a prolific writer. He's converted most of his books into audio books too, and we've produced most of those, and those are really cool because they got the sound effects and all kinds of cool stuff in there. But yeah, that would be kind of cool to see the Mac McDowell series as a graphic novel series.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So, Casey, when you're not busy working, and as you just stated, you got your hands full. When you do have that rare downtime, do you have hobbies or interests? How do you like to spend your free time?
Man, I am a dad of 2 kids, one of whom is a 13-year-old. I have zero downtime. I love it. I love being around my family. We're constantly going off on the weekends and doing stuff with the girls. We want to raise the kind of kids that we want to hang out with. We're always trying to take them off and see new art exhibits and stuff like that. Recently, when we went to Paradise Gardens, which is Howard Finster's. I don't know if you've ever heard of the folk artist Howard Finster. He was a really big folk artist in Georgia, and we went to his home and got to see a bunch of his exhibits. It was fantastic. But being able to share those experiences with my girls is, it's the best thing ever. Priority, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, kids will keep you busy. Dan, how about you? Downtime? Any hobbies? How do you spend those moments when you're not working?
Sure. This comic is what I do with my downtime. Recently became an empty nester. Both my kids have moved out of the house now, so it's given me a little bit more time to handle things like that with the comic. Getting ready to start drawing on the next chapter of the main arc. And other than that, I get to hang out with my wife. I travel a lot for work. So when I'm at home, I really try and cherish that time. Like this December, we're going out of the country for a vacation, and then next year we're going to Italy and a few other places. And so try and travel as much as I can with the wife because we really do enjoy that. But beyond that, no, I'm a taco aficionado. I can find you the best taco truck in Austin. Beyond that, just working on the comic book. I mean, that really, I try and wake up early in the morning, start drawing, and, find time here and there to work on what needs to be done. But that really is my big hobby.
Yeah,
well,
I'm a taco fan as well. So.
Absolutely.
Taco Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh yeah, it's the greatest food, really. It's it's just the cousin to the sandwich, which is also like the perfect food because it's just in your hand, it's ready to go. So anyway,
anything you can eat without needing a plate and a fork.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, credit. Hats off to whoever came up with to-go. Okay, Mr. John J. to go. You did a fine job with that invention, sir. So, anyway.
We are talking to Dan Price and Casey T. Allen, comic creators, and we will be right back after this.
Phil Lippert was thrown into the bowels of the Michigan Department of Corrections as a 17-year-old adolescent. He remained entrenched in a world of malfeasance for the next 40 years. With astonishing honesty, he reveals the raw details of what a life of incarceration looks like from the inside. His observations of human behavior and his stellar ability to tell a story reveal the courage and resilience of a man who has survived horrifying and savage injustice. Sometimes tragic, but often humorous and redemptive, Crimes and the People Who Commit Them offers a poignant collection of stories and miscreants and corrupt institutions, tales of men who have made poor choices and suffered grave consequences. Through it all, Phil Lippert displays a sly sense of humor and the quiet wisdom of a man who is, ultimately, a survivor. Lippert's journey has been one of an unrequited longing for freedom. Crimes and the People Who Commit Them is proudly published in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats, available worldwide.
When Aaliyah and Kehlani go from having fun to tussling, Big Mama puts it to rest, as fighting and bullying are plain wrong. Later, Big Daddy tells the girls about the photo of a man on the mantle. His name is Daddy Yo-Yo, he says, telling the girls about his late grandfather, who watched out for all the children in his neighborhood. Daddy Yo-Yo and the legendary marble tournament is about a group of boys having fun until Evil Eye Bucket Smith tries bullying his smaller rival, young Chucky Fry. Daddy Yo-Yo won't stand for it. He knows that looking out for kids also means teaching about pride, self-worth, and caring for others. From Fresh Ink Group and author-educator Janice D. Toney, the illustrated full-colored chapter book, Daddy Yo-Yo and the Legendary Marble Tournament is out now. Grab and share your copy in hardcover, softcover, or all ebook formats. Find out who the real winners are as we all learn the wisdom of Daddy Yo-Yo.
All right, Dr. Janice D. Toney is the author of that book. She's been holding a lot of events and doing very well. No matter how many books she keeps selling out. And now she's hooking up some sponsorship deals with car dealerships who are ordering 300 cars, putting their cards in there and giving them away to children who come visit the car dealerships with their families. So, hey, you got to be creative, people. Get out there and come up with those ideas for marketing your books. And Janice Toney is a good example of doing that. Now, we're talking to Casey T. Allen and Dan Price, comic creators. And, Casey, you've mentioned that you're in the middle of Alabama somewhere, small-town Alabama, you called it. And since I'm in Alabama, I'm curious, where in Alabama are you, and what's it like there where you live?
So I work in Birmingham, which is, not necessarily small-town Alabama, but I live about maybe 30 to 40 minutes outside of Birmingham. It's there are cows. There are, other things.
What's the name of
it? Mount Olive. So it's not very huge, but it's home. I like it. It's got a big yard where the kids can be dumb and goof off and let the dogs run around, and it's quiet. I like it. So.
Great.
Now, Dan, well, this is kind of a question for both of you, but we'll go with you first. Casey can chime in on it if he's got anything to add. Who does the art and who does the text, and who's doing what on these creations that you guys are working on together?
Well, for the main storyline, the project, I'm the creator of the comic Bigfoot Knows Karate, and so on the main storyline, I co-write the book with Casey, and then I do the artwork, colors, letters, that sort of thing. For this particular comic that we currently have on Kickstarter for 47 more hours is Bigfoot Knows Karate Inagon, which was written by Casey and with some assists from me. And then the artwork was done by a gentleman named Adam Caswell, who has been our cover artist on our deluxe edition covers for the last couple of issues. Adam came to us as a fan artist. We've been really lucky, and we received over 150 pieces of fan art for Bigfoot Knows Karate. He came to us as a fan artist, and when he sent us the work, we were like, holy cow, this is amazing. And we hired him, as a cover artist, and he is doing his very first interior art on this particular project. So really amazing work, where usually the comic is black and white, or is a full color. And then this book, Adam is a beautiful traditional artist, so we're leaving the book in black and white. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. We're leaving the book in black and white to enhance the work, that he's doing. It's absolutely gorgeous stuff. But Casey, he came on originally as an editor for the project and for the main storyline, and he was throwing out so many great ideas, including like the name for our big bad guy in the first issue, Kung Fu Sulu. When I heard that, I was like, okay, man, you're in. And he came on as a co-writer. But this book is really amazing because Casey really took the helm. He has to deal with me being a complete overlord when it comes to the main arc. And thank you for putting up with me, Casey. You're amazing.
And Jerk. I heard Jerk too. and he's putting up with my being a jerk. Yeah. So he's done an amazing job with the main arc, and it was like this was a good opportunity. He had a great story in mind. Let Casey shine and show the world what he does with the Bigfoot Knows Karate character. Step back, not in modern time, but step back into feudal Japan, and he's just knocking it out of the park. So that's kind of like the work breakdown between the two of us. Did I get all that right, Case?
Pretty much, man. Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's fun, man. So, Dan came. I saw this character that Dan had created, and kept pestering about it, like, hey, like, you need to do something with that. That looks really cool. He kept posting more and more pictures of it on Instagram, and finally I was like, figure something out. And he sent me this, massive, kind of an outline of what he had wanted to accomplish with it. And I was like, I will do whatever you want me to do. Let me edit, let me do whatever, because this is awesome. This is super cool. And initially I thought I was just going to edit on issue 1, and I kept dropping, ideas here and there, and finally he asked me to come on board, and I've, I was worried because I didn't know how it would be to co-write, but it's been, such a good experience. I mean, we're on our 3rd issue of the arc, and this new book, Hennigan, the one shot, it's it was written by me, and I even at the end of it I couldn't nail the ending the way I wanted to, and just hashing it out with Dan, he set me up with the best way we could end it, and so it's teamwork.
Oh,
it's great. I love it.
Oh, dude, co-writing's a whole nother animal. I mean, I'm really comfortable working in a group. I do it all the time for my day job. Why should comics be any different? And comics are a collaborative, medium. You got your pencilers, you got your inkers, you got your writers, everybody's doing something different. In indie, you get a lot of people, you get one person doing everything on a book, or you might have a team, but co-writing is kind of a rarity. But I knew, frankly, like my background in comics comes from comedy comics. And I've got, stories that are just replete with dick and fart jokes, for days. And, but I wanted to do something so different from what I had been working on in the past. I wanted, action adventure, psychological thriller, big scope, cinematic. You got this Bigfoot, he's doing martial arts. He's introspective, and he's this cunning warrior. And I knew that I needed help. I had this idea, but I needed somebody to help me really really kick it off. And Casey came in and just like made sense out of chaos, which was incredible. And so, yeah, we work in our Google Doc and we pass the file back and forth to each other. And, what we like, we turn into black font so we know it's solidified and we keep moving forward. But it really does make it a fun experience. It's cool to have somebody to constantly volley ideas with, instead of just working in that vacuum like we get caught up in sometimes.
That's cool. Yeah, you definitely need a partnership. Now, Dan, you had mentioned Kickstarter, so why don't you tell our listeners about that and how people can get involved with contributing to that?
Sure. Well, first of all, you can go to BigfootKnowsKarate.com and you can find the link to the Kickstarter right there. You can also find that over at LesserKnownComics.com homepage. I believe it's still up right now, but you got like 47 hours left on the campaign. What we're doing on the Kickstarter is you can pre-order your book. The book is mostly done. I think we're about 21 pages out of 26 pages to finish artwork on. And you can go to the Kickstarter and pre-order your comic, whether you want to get a digital copy for $4, a regular edition for $8, all the way up to deluxe foil covers, and you can even get a wrestling belt, a Bigfoot Knows Karate wrestling belt on the campaign that I will actually sign for you and send out a mess of comics with it. And so we've got a lot of different tiers. Adam Caswell is doing commissions. There's a few spots left of that. So if you want to get a sketch cover commission by Adam of Bigfoot Knows Karate character, by all means, that's something that you can do as well. We have we do these deluxe editions of the comic, which are really cool. A regular edition is like a 26-page story. The deluxe edition is going to be that same story plus. I mentioned how much fan art we received. We are doing a 10-page fan art gallery, black and white fan art gallery in the back of the book. And do you guys remember director commentaries on DVDs?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A friend of mine pioneered those for HBO.
Oh, those things are great. I loved them when you could buy the DVD and go through all the extras and stuff. We actually have a director's commentary in our comic. You click on the QR code, and it takes you to a YouTube video where we discuss the book in detail. And you can read along. You can watch the video as you're reading along.
Wow. For click-throughs, people follow that and get interested?
Yeah, we see a lot of people go and watch those things. It's been pretty successful. I mean, if you're somebody who likes extras and all of that, then it is very good. It is very good.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Well, we've got one more commercial we need to roll out here, Beem.
Yeah, righty. We are talking to Dan Price and KCC Allen. They are comic creators, and we will be right back.
A grand epic saga by Robert Mackenzie. The Chair series spans centuries, touching the lives of 22 generations of related mothers and daughters, their stories witnessed by a simple pine chair. Resolute, strong, loving, and fiercely protective, these women must strive to pass their values to new generations in a world of racism and sexism, politics, scandal, fashion, even the rise and dominance of baseball. They live in privilege and poverty with faith and despair, relishing every moment of love, even as they suffer abiding grief. Volume 1, Lightning, Thunder, and Glory, spans the 1600s through World War I. While Volume 2, Faith, Hope, and Love, follows these women's descendants into modern times and beyond. In Volume 3, 7, 8, and 9, the Chair flashes back to pre-Civil War America, featuring a woman from the Second Mayflower, her daughter, the black market Irish lace importer, and a Canadian World War I fighter pilot. A blend of history and philosophy told through satire and parody, the story of the Chair could be found in some old trunk in any dusty old attic But Mackenzie breathes it alive with riveting tales that span the real and the imagined. Proudly published by Fresh Ink Group, the Chair series by Robert Mackenzie is available worldwide in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook editions.
All right.
All right. Again, we're talking to Casey Allen and Dan Price, comic creators, and I'm looking at a website, BigfootKnowsKarate.com. So what is Bigfoot Knows Karate, guys? Either of you can answer, and the other one can correct whatever he said wrong.
I'll let Dan go first since it's his baby. But, yeah.
You jump in anytime, Casey. All right. But, Bigfoot Knows Bigfoot Knows Karate is the story of a gentle yet deadly cryptid warrior who lives in a world where anyone can be the hunter and anyone can be the prey at any given time. Think Godzilla versus Kong meets Kill Bill with a twist. And that's just issue 1. It's an action-adventure psychological thriller. It's chock full of violence and a lot of philosophy all at the same time. If you're looking for a Bigfoot that just runs around in the woods scaring people, that's not our guy. But if you're looking for something with a lot of with a nice deep story going on, as well as that monster of the week aspect, we've got that too. We got characters like Kung Fu Thulu, Chupacabra with a shotgun, Thermonucleodon. The list goes on and on of just crazy characters running through the book. So it is pretty cool, I do have to say, not to toot our own horns, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm seeing merch here, and I'm also seeing you can click and get over and find out about the Kickstarter as well.
Yes, sir.
So what do you think, Kate? What would you add to that?
It's one thing that I love about this book. I mean, the story is great. Obviously, I mean, I wrote it. It's pretty rad. No. One thing that we hear often from folks is, I was expecting this, and then I got this, but also I got this other thing that I wasn't expecting. I think that the name kind of gives you a pretty straightforward, like, oh, it's about this. That sounds rad. Let's rock. But we really wanted to not subvert expectation, but to give you a little bit more bang for your buck and actually give you a story. Because a big guy doing karate on another big guy, that's one trick pony, man. That can only be done so many times. You have to have a little bit more to it to keep it interesting, unless you just want that audience of people who are satisfied with, two big guys beating the crap out of each other. And some people love it. They watch football. It's great. Roll Tide. But with Bigfoot Knows Karate, like, we're really trying to tell a story here. So.
All right. Yeah, that's cool. Now,
and I did mean it when I said Roll Tide.
Yeah, and I'm thinking Go Blue. Go Blue.
Go Astros. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now, Dan, since Casey just took that tail end of that one, is Lesser Known Comics the name of the company? And also, how do you publish? Are you self-published or do you farm that out?
We are part of Lesser Known Comics, which is an indie comics publisher. It's not much different from self-publishing, which is where we kind of got our background in. But what Lesser Known gives us is a bigger megaphone, a great stable of other creators to bounce ideas off with and work with each other, help promote each other. Our publisher, Mark Bernal, he's amazing. The guy is so charismatic. He could totally start a religion if it was given the opportunity. But he really cares about comic creators and fostering new creators and putting out quality work. So we're pleased to be a part of that for sure. The background is definitely in self-publishing. I've worked with publishers in the past as well. But what I like about lesser known is we have the freedom of being self-published, but we have that guidance. We have the buying power with our printers. There's a lot of pluses to being a part of a larger group, in the larger world of indie comics. We're small fish, but we're doing some good things, which is really great. I think that really wraps up my answer to the question. There you go.
All right, go.
All right, now you guys mentioned that you fit together. When you work together, you collaborate on your projects and whatnot, and how each of you brings something different and unique to that. It's really hard to get that kind of stuff put together. So I'm curious, maybe starting with you, Casey, do you have some there who want to get into the comic book creation industry in general, or maybe even specifically how to find the right partner and find a way for you guys to work together and create something that's bigger than the sum of its parts?
So, So one thing about me in particular is I was that creator for the longest that had no idea how to start out. And it's, luckily thanks to the wonders of the internet, we're able to, find our tribe. And one thing that we do at the Comic Jam, which is a website I help run, is we match up people who are hoping to dip their toe into the comics making experience. We match up writers and artists, and it's really cool. Like, you have two types of people who go in and sincerely want to, learn the ropes, and then you have other people who go like, you guys listen up. I have the best, more of an idea man, but I need a writer and an artist. I need somebody to help me write this story, because I don't know the first thing about how to write, and then I need an artist, and I have so many ideas, and it's like, no, we're not here for that. We're not here to get your dream project that is the best thing ever in your head done. We are here to teach you the fundamentals, and then as soon as you get those fundamentals down, you can meet people who, of like mind that share your goals. And so anybody who's wanting to get into comics, like, the first thing I would say is find your tribe. Find folks that are starting out at the same level as you, and push yourself. Try new things. You are going to get rejected so many times on so many projects, but if eventually you're going to find something that works. Rejection is part of the process, for sure.
Wow. I really like to find your tribe. That is so, and that's true way beyond comic books. That's true in music. I mean, that's true in all
Absolutely.
of the art. Find your tribe, and those people will help lift you, and it's your obligation to help lift them as well, which is very cool. So, what about you, Dan? You got some advice for people out there?
Yeah, find your tribe is a big one. I've been really lucky to find an amazing group of people on Instagram who have been very, very supportive of not only myself but the Bigfoot Knows Karate Project. Get out there, meet the people, shake hands, kiss babies, whatever you need to do, but just meet people who that you are attracted to their work and that you're attracted to, their mindset and what you're seeing them put out there. Meeting people like Casey through the Comic Jam. If you're looking to get started, look at the Jam. I did comics for several years, took a long break, came back to it, and the Jam was one of those things that helped me get my toes back into the water, alongside of doing some work for some other books, and before I dip my toe into doing another creator-owned title again. So the other advice I would give to people is, if you're a writer, read, and if you're an artist, study other art. It's nice to draw and it's nice to write, but have a background in, be able to pull. Stretch your imagination. They say writers should write what they know. I challenge you to write what you don't know. I challenge you to go do the research. I challenge you to push your boundaries. If you're comfortable writing men, start writing women. You know what I mean? Like, push yourself harder and harder, and keep going further and further. It's the only way we're going to stretch ourselves. And taking in all forms of media. I don't really do the gaming thing, but I love to read. I love film. I love modern television in terms of, I think there's just such great writing in modern TV rather than going to the movies and seeing large blockbusters. This is the best writing in entertainment right now. Shows like Shrinking or Ted Lasso or, things like that just brings such a different vibe to, I'm a huge fan of Sopranos. I'm rewatching that right now. Immerse yourself in media, surround yourself with good storytelling, because it's only going to rub off on you.
Yeah, and virtually anything that people put out there today, if you've got some little references to, pop culture references or things like that recognize, that really brings them into stories. I mean, you don't want to date your stuff, but if you're not well read, if you're not
pop culture.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
I started to say, if you're well read, you see movies, you watch TV, you're out there participating in the culture, then you know what to refer to. You know what are the hot topics and all that, and that can be reflected in your writing and in your work. I've got one more.
One of those things with...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, it's just one of those things with the pop culture references. The original stuff that I was writing was like littered with that stuff. And, and I love pop culture references. I love movie quotes. Hell, I wrote a play that was written entirely in movie quotes, and that was produced. I love all that stuff. When it came to Bigfoot, it's funny, no pop culture references allowed. That's like one of our rules in the book, because like I've written stuff and you go back 10 years later and read it, and it's like it's talking about Opa Gangnam Style and, all these little things that were fun for like 5 minutes 10 years ago or whatever it was, 15 years ago. So the rule of thumb is, the rule of thumb is no pop culture references, and we really try to adhere to that, because I want in 30 years from now, I want somebody able to read that book and go, oh, that holds up. So that was one of our things. But still, but I just thought that was a neat point about the book.
So. Yeah, and I've got one more advice question for either of you can take, or both of it, or whatever. How do writers like Robert G. Williscroft, who have fantastic series, and he's also got a science fiction series that's out of this world, pun intended, as well. How do writers like that find to turn their work into comic books or graphic novels or things like that? What advice would you give Robert Williscroft, who's got some great series, but he doesn't know who to work with to get something else going with that?
Well, I would say anybody wanting to turn their one piece of media into a different type of media, like if you be prepared for changes, be prepared to rewrite, because not everything works across different medias. You might have to switch it up. So who knows, you might be able to get rid of things that you weren't happy with in the first place. But it's
is there a place to go hang out and find comic book creators? Meet people?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
is there a comic book bar and you really go in there and order a round of drinks and meet people? I
mean, the comics community on Instagram is really strong, as is the comics community on that stupid site with the one letter now. You can always find people who are, willing to get their hands dirty. You just have to ask. You just have to find that community. It's out there and it's super strong. They're media savvy. They social media is huge with comics.
Oh, cool. Show up, and if they don't kick you out, hang around.
Exactly. On Twitter, they do Twitter Spaces. and there's a lot of comic creators who do these Twitter spaces. Stick your head in one and listen to what they're saying. They'll identify themselves as writers, artists as they're talking, and then as you're listening to the space, go look up the people who are in the space and see who they are. If you find that you're listening to them talk and you get into their philosophy of making how comics are made, reach out to them. Same thing on Instagram. Watch Instagram lives. Watch these people drawing. Hey, I like what you're doing, and I'd love to DM you and talk about this project I have. The other thing that I would say to, what was his name again, Robert, would be ready to pay a page rate. Comics are expensive to make, and artists are not cheap. The good ones aren't anyway. Seasoned ones aren't, and so it is. I mean, I can tell you right now what I make for a cover alone, let alone what my page rate is. But, I'm not cheap. I mean, but it's like if you want to make this book, you have to, you definitely have to pay the right people and the right players. And, in one situation that I was approached with one time, somebody came to me about adapting a book into a comic book. And they didn't know anything about the process. They needed somebody who could act as like a quarterback, who could quarterback the project for them and really show them how to get this whole thing done, and worked as almost like a liaison between them and the rest of the team so they could put the book together. That's a rarity that somebody would do something like that, but they were nice people. So there's a lot to it. You got to figure there's pencilers, there's inkers, there's colorists, there's letterers, there's book production and putting the whole thing together, and getting it off to the printer along with the writing. And we always say in writing, show not tell, right? In comics, it's even more so. Right now, I've got a project I'm doing after Bigfoot Knows Karate where I'm adapting a play into a comic book. Well, if you think about Waiting for Godot, it's a lot of two people standing there just having a conversation going back and forth, right? It's not very visually appealing in a comic book unless you're, the guy who draws Tintin. So with that being said, it's the opportunity to show that in the play we can show what they're talking about visually, while the people who are on stage, the actors on stage who are now comic book characters, can narrate our way through the show and tell that way. It's really interesting when you're trying to adapt something, what you can visually show and cut down the words on. The more you can do that, the better your book will be, because it's not like writing a novel where you're writing hundred pages of a book. We are constantly trimming and trimming and trimming bubbles, trying to get that dialogue as crisp and clean as possible so it will not impact the artwork on the pages, So I love writing. I've written short stories, I've written a novella, I've done all of that stuff. And from the writing perspective, comics, just a whole other animal. But it can be done. We see it happen all the time, and great work comes out. It's just finding the right team, settling in the right people, and just putting it into action.
All right. Now I'm going to throw this out here. Either you both can answer it. Let's say Casey goes first. What kind of fan reaction have you had? Have you had readers reach out to you and tell you their thoughts on your work?
Oh, absolutely. We've gotten tons of fan art from people. We've had people do breakdown videos on their YouTube channels and stuff like that, and it's really gratifying hearing from folks and having them go like, oh, that was more than I expected. I was not prepared for this to happen. You really took me by surprise there. Anything we get back is greatly appreciated, because sometimes it feels like you're shouting into a void, man.
Yeah.
So when you do get that feedback, and with this book, we've gotten quite a few people tell us like, hey, I enjoyed the hell out of that. It was a fun ride. It's worth all of the self-doubt and and worry and all that. Dan and I aren't setting out to to do a crappy comic. We're in it to make the best product we can, and to have people confirm like, oh, I really enjoyed that. It's a good feeling.
You have anything to add to that, Dan?
No, I mean, it's, other than, just grateful for the reception that we've received. I don't think we've had a bad review yet, not one that I've had. And, I mean, there was this one guy who did an Instagram reel, and I can quote it verbatim. It was just a picture of the cover, and it said, bro, this shit is low-key fire. I'm not going to front. This is one of the best independent comics I've read in a minute. That one little reel alone made my day. It's like, I love that, because it makes you feel like you're really making an impact on the reader. And that we were able to deliver something they just didn't expect. And that makes you feel like, all right, we got them. I think we got something good here, and we're going to keep on going, keep continuing the story. So just real grateful to all the podcasters, reviewers, readers, followers, people who took time to draw the character. I mean, it's insane. It's the most fun I've ever had making comic books, and I've been doing this a long time.
Well, great. Casey Allen, Dan Price, tell people how they can find you, how they can contact you, how they can follow you, what social media you're on, your URL for your website, everything. Tell us where you are and how people can get to know you.
I'll go first. Casey is my Instagram and X.com, Blue Sky, all that. Robots Eat Guitar, and that's my @. That is my personal handles are forever. Unfortunately, that's the dumbest handle I've ever heard in my life. But it was my pithy reaction to mid-aughts indie rock. So I doubt anybody gets it or understands what I'm trying to say, but it's mine, and I'm stuck with it. So Robots Eat Guitar,
I get it,
where
Casey.
you want to. And go to thecomicjam.com. Check that out. A lot of good work being done there. And over to you, Dan.
Sure. You can find me at Danomite139. That's DANOMYTE 139 on social media, which would be Instagram, Twitter, what else? TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads. I'm never on any, like the last couple. You can find me on all of those. You can go to BigfootKnowsKarate.com. You can find the link to our Kickstarter on BigfootKnowsKarate.com. Also, you can check out LesserKnownComics.com, also a link available on the Bigfoot site, where you can buy back issues of issue 1 and 2. And if you're interested in my professional services, go to Danomite139.com. You can find my portfolio there.
All right. And as always, with all of our guests, anybody ever's trying to get a message to one or find out more, we have a contact form at freshinkgroup.com. And we know where these people are. In fact, one of them's not too far from me in Alabama. So send us a note, and we'll always pass things along as well. So, again, that's Casey Allen, Dan Price. Remember those you comic book lovers, or those of you who know comic book lovers. Get out there and check out their work.
Yeah, I have. I'm going to throw out one last question to them. This is from Dr. Helen Burrell on Twitter. She just has a real quick question for the both of you. She says, she's a fan of Wonder Woman. She wonders if either of you have comics heroines in your, female heroes in your comics, or if you have a favorite female heroine.
We actually have a female character. Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, no, we actually have a female character that just started up in the second issue of Bigfoot Knows Karate. Her name is Iris, and we cannot wait to get into the character of Iris. The best way I could describe her would be a little bit more punk rock version of Sarah Connor in in The Terminator 2 Judgment Day. That's how I kind of see her. But, favorite female heroine character, oh man, who would that be? I gotta go with Sue Richards on the Fantastic Four. I love the Fantastic Four, and I grew up on Sue Richards, and I love the family aspect of that story. It's so different from other superhero stories, and watching that character progress not only as a superhero but also, as a woman. Watching her grow, as like the almost the femme fatale in those first issues to being such a strong character. Whether it's being a hero, a mother, a wife, or just a woman, it's incredible watching how that character's grown. So, big fan of hers.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. And again, next time you have something out, let us know. We'll make sure we put it in the newsletter and help keep our fans informed. Thanks for coming on the show. And everybody,
thanks for having us.
Next week we've got Zeta Alfaro. She's an author and a musician. She's got product to sell. She's got an album. She's got a book. You're going to want to meet Zeta Alfaro next week. And who we got after that, Beam?
Week after that, we're bringing a hooker in. Dave Hooker from Off the Hook Sports. Also the author of Celebrate 98, that championship season for the Tennessee Vols. And after that?
Oh, you science fiction fans, we've got a real treat. We've had Robert G. Williscroft on the show 4 times. We've had Alistair Mayer. Now we're going to have John B. Rosenman on the show for the first time. Science fiction master. You want to check that out.
And after that, we have Dana Wayne. She's new to us, so as you're learning about her, we're going to be learning about her. And after that...
It takes us... the night before Thanksgiving is a Wednesday here in the United States, and since it's a holiday weekend, a lot of people are traveling. We're going to do a rerun of a Patricia Guthrie episode. Patricia Guthrie is the author of a whole bunch of cool, spooky short stories and several novels that are spooky thrillers as well. That's the night before Thanksgiving. And after that?
After that, we've got Judith White Arts, who by this time when she's on should have her book out. We are working on it right now. And it's about spiritual awakening and things she's learned from the personal experiences she's gone through. So Judith White Arts, it's ARTZ, and or Judy. She writes as Judy White Arts. And after that, I've got a whole stable full of people that have sent in emails wanting to get on the podcast, and I'm combing through those, and we're trying to find the most interesting guests, and keep your eyes and ears on that newsletter. And if you're not subscribed, get over there and subscribe to it, and that's about it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Casey and Dan. We enjoyed having you.
We appreciate you taking time out for us.
All right. We'll see everybody next week.
All righty.
Multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group is now producing audiobooks and video books. Publish your book and discover great books by Fresh Ink Group authors. Always available in hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats. And now expanding into audio and video books. Fresh Ink Group. Just wait till you hear what's next. You've been a part of Voice of Indie, a production of Fresh Ink Group. Spread the word, support our guests, then find us at freshinkgroup.com and be sure to hashtag Fresh Ink Group.